Hilbre is the largest in a chain of 3 tidal islands that lie at the mouth of the Dee estuary, within an hour's drive of both Liverpool and Manchester. It's thought to have been inhabited since the Stone Age and was once a place of pilgrimage. At the western end lie the remains of the lifeboat station, which operated here until the Second World War, and a number of buildings that date back to Liverpool's heyday, when Hilbre was an important part of the harbour communication network. The islands are no longer occupied, but are maintained as a nature reserve by Wirral Council. They're accessible on foot at low tide, and in the summer months they're a popular day out. On the water's edge, the residents are in lockdown, waiting for the sea to return. At first glance, the mussels appear to be part of the rocks. The dormant barnacles look like something from a science fiction film. Where there's still running water, a few are still feeding. On the beach, periwinkles roam. These sea snails are most at home underwater. As the rock dries, they look for somewhere to rest. In the rock pools, anemones flex their tentacles. In the shallows, oyster catchers are foraging. Despite their name, they feed mainly on cockles and mussels. This one has found a mussel buried in the sand. Its long bill is perfect to prise the shell open and get the tasty bits inside. Twice a day, the tide cuts Hilbre off from the mainland. The advancing water forces thousands of wading birds from the sands. Oyster catchers from across Liverpool Bay converge on Middle Eye. On Hilbre itself, a flock of dunlin are coming into land. Many of these little waders spend the winter here, but it's now late May and they have already left for the summer. This little group are just passing through, taking a short break on their annual migration. Dunlin from Africa and southern Europe often stop here on their long flight north to the Arctic. After a few days' rest, they'll be on their way again. Causing trouble in the roost are a few turnstone. Most of their kin have also departed for Greenland or northern Canada. This individual is all dressed up in fine breeding plumage and will surely be away soon. On the sandstone cliffs, the odd ringed plover mingles with the dunlin. These two will soon leave Hilbre for the summer. But the birds are not the only seaside specialists that flourish here. Thrift turns the islands pink in early summer. And later in the season, a rare variety of sea lavender colours the slopes purple. In the abandoned gardens, a giant dog rose has entangled itself with the remains of the glass house. The air above hums with insect life, and this attracts the swallows. One pair are nesting on the island, but many more fly over from the mainland. For the creatures that live on the beach, the rhythm of the tide is like day and night. When the water recedes, it reveals a mass of activity. Periwinkles scurry across the rocks, jostling for the best place to spend low tide. Barnacles cover almost every surface. Here they've colonised the shell of a mussel and are sharing this precarious home with a small anemone. On the cliffs, sea slaters are feeding. These ancient creatures are close relatives of the woodlouse, but these grow much larger, about 1.5 inches in length. The D tides are some of the fastest flowing in Europe. Sea level can change by over 10 metres in 6 hours. In places the tide moves as fast as a man can walk. Charles Kingsley's classic poem, Sands of Dee, tells the story of a young cowherd who lost her life to these tides. They rowed her in across the rolling foam, the cruel, crawling foam, the cruel, hungry foam, to her grave beside the sea. But still the boatmen hear her call the cattle home, across the sands of Dee. Dawn finds the gulls and the oyster catchers relaxing at the water's edge. But the early bird catches the worm, and soon there are waders feeding all along the beach. It It's now late August, and a small flock of turnstone have returned. They've begun to shed their auburn summer plumage, gradually replacing it with a more sober winter brown. They live up to their name, scouring the beach, turning over shells and stones, hoping to find their favourite food, tiny crabs. This youngster has eyes bigger than her belly, and though she seems to know this crab's a little large for her, she's finding it hard to let such a bumper meal walk away. Up on the island, the coming autumn shows in the ruddy browns of the bulrushes. And in the meadow, the greens have mellowed to gold. On the windward slopes, the thrift has left a few skeletal reminders of the summer's passing. Over the next few months, the numbers of wading birds living on the Dee estuary will climb to many times what they've been through the summer. Birds from across the northern hemisphere will converge here to overwinter on these fertile sands. As autumn takes hold, the west wind will howl and rain will lash the rocks, making Hilbre a much more forbidding place for people and wildlife alike. But while summer lingers and the sun still sets into the sea, it's hard to imagine anywhere more peaceful.